Hi all, welcome back and this time we are going to do something interesting. Not that other things were not interesting. This is a bit more interesting because we'll be talking more about REST APIs and dynamic data. So here we have data grid that is row based. This is coming from a JSON. Typically we would use all that whatever we learned in previous chapters to get this up and running. So where do we differ? We will have a remote JSON file, try to call that, and then we will try to use REST APIs to add new records. So this is where we will start differing from this particular code. So let us get started. I'm in app controller. Compute data grid REST API. So we have data grid REST API. Nothing really happens. So as you remember, we need to add pages. New file, comp. We already have 7, so it should be comp8.html. So let me make change here. It is comp8. Okay. So we have added comp8.html, and we also need comp8.js. So far so good. But then we always use the template that we have. Comp8 and comp8 here. Super. So now what we will do, we will get into a regular business of trying to get this JSON copied. Employee data.json. I think I already have copied this employee data. I've already copied this JSON file. In case you have not copied, you have to copy this in this folder, JSON's folder, and build it. Only build will ensure that. Just talking about build, you need to know that every time you add a file, you need to add the file to src directory, and once you build, those files get copied to web directory. You should never ever and never ever try to edit the files in web directory directly, because if you do so, it will work for time being, but then once you rebuild, all your changes will be lost. So it is very important that you never touch the web directory. It's something that I learned by mistakes. It's I don't know whether it's very well documented or not, or where it is documented, but the most important thing is you should not uh, make changes in web directory. You should only make it in src. Having said that, I have my JSON copied. Okay, so let me get my HTML. Start from div all the way till div. My JS file. you always start from the thing here is what to copy, what not to copy, right? Start from here, from require, and put it in define. Start the functional input parameter, put it here. Our main code should come here. So it should start from this part all the way till here. So far so good. I need to change the path of my JSON. It should be JSONs slash employee data.json. Since I've been adding new HTML and JS, I need to rebuild this. Control C, OJet build, OJet serve. Nothing really happened. So let us see. Okay, it did not find employee data.json, but there is under JSONs. Not sure if this works. Okay, this is where you need to use Chrome browser and see where the file breaks. For example, if I just do like this, right, nothing will load, and you see that the path is something wrong with this, and then you see that 404 not found. It typically makes sense to use Chrome browser with inspect option, and I would highly recommend people to use console. Sometimes the most bigger crime will be not to look in the network, so just have a look at the network. This also gives you a lot of useful information, like which particular file is taking too much of time to load and all. So okay, now we have this one. We will make small changes here. We will edit the width and make it a bit bigger. Okay, height we can make it bigger. Now comes the changes that we want to make. I don't want this JSON to be coming locally. I want that JSON to be coming from a remote server. So what I have done is this JSON file, I have uploaded it to a server which is having a secure connection, right? So I will just copy this URL and go here. Rather than this, I will make it URL colon this one. See what happens. As expected, it has crashed. Now this comes of the most famous error, that is JSON from origin. This thing has been blocked by CORS policy, no access control origin. This is This is happening because your local host is trying to contact a JSON that is in some other server with HTTPS. So to overcome that, what I did was wrote a simple PHP file. Okay, this PHP file would allow in the header access control allow origin star. That means from anywhere I can access this file, and then content type is equal to JSON, and then I added that employee JSON, employee data.json. So basically, this whole folder I FTP'd it to my server. So now instead of this thing, what I will do is I use employee get. I get the same result, but this time it is not JSON, but it is a PHP. So the PHP file is calling a JSON file. So now this whole thing I'm going to copy into my jet code. Let me repeat. If I try to call directly employee data.json from a remote server, I'm going to get cross origin error. But when I try to call the PHP file, it simply works. So now my data is coming from the remote server. Now, how do I verify that? One thing is there is no error, but then I would like to add a record. To do that, what I have done is I have written one more simple PHP code. In fact, you can do this with Java or Python or anything, but since the server is Apache and it already has PHP running, I have written a PHP code. You could write anything. Okay, so what the code does is display error messages. Okay, on click of submit button, it reads the file, gets file content, okay, that stores in a current data variable, and you decode the JSON into a temporary array and then push the form element. Let me show this here. This is the file. Okay, I'm adding a new record saying canonical. Okay, I click on append. So the form has been submitted. When you view JSON, you see canonical has been added. So if I look at the source code, initially a form is displayed. When you hit submit, the same form gets reloaded, and in that you start by getting the initial employee data.json. You decode that into a text variable, and then you push an array element. Since the format of this JSON is say employees dot employee ID, you need to make it employees comma this whole array, and then once you have that, you have to encode the array back, the string back, and get put it into the file that we began with, and that's it. So this is like you are adding a new record into the file. So if I refresh back here, what happens? We have an unequal added. Similarly, if I want to add one more record, I would say this time Pamela Anderson. Click append, view JSON. You have Pamela Anderson added. So this is, I'm just trying to add a new element to the existing JSON file and reading that back here. So if you look at this one, now you should be able to see Pamela Anderson. So this is a bit tricky. You can use the same logic to delete as well. I leave it as an exercise to you. You can add a button here. Click on the button, invoke the REST API, and just delete that record. But I have not done it. But it's left to the guys who come from a PHP or Python background to try it out. It's fairly simple. The clue for you would be to read the JSON file completely and parse through all the JSON elements and just go and delete it and then rewrite that file again. But it's something left to you. So thanks for watching.